Hello, friends. Welcome back. I thought it would be worthwhile to go through setting up Book Zero, which is my next project. And yeah, I got a different kind of setup today. I have the big mic out because I thought I bought the damn thing. I might as well use it. So we're using it instead of the other one, the little guy that sits on my chest there and does the kind of whenever I sing. It's not the greatest. So, Book Zero, just to let you know, again, is Miles, the investigator in charge, our main character, going from Galileo system to Paradise system. Paradise system is as far as humanity has ever made it. Galileo system's the system before that. Miles happens to have been born in Tremblay system, which is the one just before Galileo system, in case you were wondering. It doesn't actually come up in the books, but in case you were wondering. So, doing Book Zero, this, you'll get it for free, okay? This is not being published unless I tack it onto a book at some point in the future, but this is not being published. This is me giving it to you. And that was always the plan from the beginning. I always planned on doing this. I'll be doing an audiobook for it and putting it on YouTube. Probably as unlisted. I'll make a video and the link will be in the video so that I can explain some things first. I may also put it on Substack with a link to that video, and I'll also send it out to the newsletter subscribers. That's what I've decided to do. The entire point of this, well, it's to share my work, but it's also to entice you, because at some point I will be publishing book 1 and all the other ones. And honestly, I'd like you to buy them. So if you're enticed by this, then you might be willing to go and purchase book 1. Book 0 will be called Miles Away. That was my original title for book 1 before I decided to change it all to have the word space in it, which you might disagree that that was the right way to go about things, but that's how I did it. But book 0 will be called Miles Away. You know, Miles is away, and it's also miles away, which is super clever, you know, except that we don't actually use imperial units in the books. So it would actually be kilometers away. But his name is not Kilometer. Kilometer LaSalle. So anyway, we use miles away. It's fine. I think I'm funny and I'm not. Okay. Let's get into Scrivener. In case you don't use Scrivener, maybe you will in the future. I'll show you some things that I do. I've done this before, a bunch of videos back for book, I think it was either 3 or 4. But we'll do it again for book 0, because there's always new people joining us, which I love. Thank you very much, all the new folks who have joined us. Thank you. Let's go to the screen recordings. Great, so here we are in Scrivener. This actually is book 0, the setup, but I'll show you what I did. From my previous book, I did File New, Project, and then it comes up with this thing. And you go to Fiction, and then Novel. There's Novel with parts, there's short stories. You'll have to look that stuff up in your own. But I clicked on Novel, and then I hit Create, and it asked me where I wanted to save it. So I saved it where I wanted to, and it ends up with manuscript, chapter, and then 1 scene is what ends up in there. I also dragged in from the previous project my master plot list, the structure, dialogue structure, medical examiner, technologies. Technologies has all the stuff going on in my books. societal information, structure of government, structure of investigators, units of measure, stuff like that. Then I have the outline for book 0, stuff about cruise ship cameras, why Miles needed to investigate, and then the brain dump. You can read this, I don't care, because it probably won't end up being that story. The brain dump is something I did months ago when I was in a live, not a live stream, a sprint, a writing sprint with Ari in the Discord months and months and months ago. She won't remember that. I barely do. But anyway, I wrote all of this stuff just as a starter. Anyway, then what I did, okay, because it's Scrivener, I went to the chapter. And then if you look up here, these 3 boxes, and you've got like the window thing in the middle, that's your card view. Now, there would have only been one when I first started. But if you press on this plus button and just keep pressing on it, it makes a bunch of others. You can also right-click and do add new text, and that also creates new scenes for you. And then what I did was I populated all of these. I gave them titles like scene 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, and I populated them all from my master structure, which is a 3-act structure. Act 1, life of the victim or those who discover the victim or criminal committing act, life of investigators, etc. This is something that I came up with on my own, loosely based on something that I saw someone on YouTube do. I don't recall the fellow's name at the moment. That's unfortunate. But it's very loosely based on something that he showed. And this is the structure for all of my stories. Exactly this. Now, do I follow that every time? No, but this is what I always start with. The stuff underneath, this is the notes section. You see this yellow area off the bottom right here? I copy and paste all that stuff in to here so that I know what the date is for the investigation, the next steps the investigator has to take, the intent, basically who benefits from the murder, like what was the intent behind the murder, vessels involved, all the people involved, all the evidence collected so far. Comment on at some point is ideas that I have in advance that I want to make sure are mentioned. General notes is just for me to throw in whatever I want. Miles's theory, that's not actually how that's spelled. Can we do that properly? No. There you go. It's actually apostrophe S. It's not just apostrophe. Because the word is not plural. Anyway, Miles's theory is what he thinks is happening, and that's great. So that's in there too. It's not necessarily what's actually happening. And I have other documents that I end up creating along the way, like fly on the wall, what actually happened. But I developed that a little bit later on because I mostly pants this stuff. This seems like super outlining and structured and stuff, but it's not at all. But it does provide some constraints to work within. You know, I've got some walls around the compound, but I can, dig around wherever I want within the walls. That's what that provides. So all of these things, Act 1-1, let's say. So Scene 1-1, that's what that pertains to. Up here in this synopsis, I just copy and paste, and we got that. Then what I do is I write in what I think could possibly happen in this. Just very, very briefly, because, again, I prefer to pants everything. And then, as you see, I've got the notes in here, I don't have anything in them yet because I don't know anything yet. I haven't actually started the story yet. This is just setting up the project for this book. And then some of these scenes, like I think it's 2-1. I don't remember what it is. No, it's 2-2. Okay, 2-2. The first one I clicked on. I should have just gone with that. See, it says long section, right? There could be 22A, 22B, 22C, 22D, etc. Like all the way up to, I think we've gotten up to S or T before. So all you do is like add a new scene and, by right-clicking, add new text, and you create a new scene and you give it a new name just by double-clicking on it, right? And then you just keep adding on and adding on and adding on. I know it says chapter. I do not write in chapters. I write in scenes. And then after I finish the entire book, I go back through and I figure out what scenes should go together to form a chapter. And if I have to write some little, things to finish it off or to start off a new chapter, then I'll do that. But it's honestly not necessary. The scenes, they're kind of self-contained. I'm pretty good at that. I've gotten a feel for it. So anyway, then I separate everything out into chapters, and then I just, compile. Where's that? There it is. Compile. We'll click on the button. There's nothing in here. And then I just do manuscript times print. If I'm going to vellum, there was a vellum option. Where the hell did that go? Manuscript times script or screen. Okay. I could swear that yesterday there was an option that said vellum in here. Well, whatever. Maybe because I haven't actually written anything yet. It's not giving me that. I don't know. Anyway, but I'll send it off to Word, and then I'll send it off to the editor and all the readers and whatever, and then I'll edit it, and then blah, 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 and I'll send it to vellum for the formatting, and then do the cover. And that's how I do absolutely everything. But as far as what happens when I sit down, this is what I see. This is exactly what I see and exactly how I see it. And I just start writing. Miles entered the terminal lobby. Whatever. I don't care. I'm not in the middle of it right now. But anyway, that's it. And then as I write things and they become evidence, I also copy and paste them over to the notes. When I figure out what I think the date is, I'll put it in there. I actually know what the date is, so I will put it in there. Next steps in the investigation. Fine. You got all that stuff. Great. Something else. Where's Illustrator? Oh, God, why is nothing working? Bagunk. Okay, Illustrator. This is Adobe Illustrator. So this entire book takes place on a cruise ship. So Miles comes into the cruise ship on deck 3. This is where you enter from. I'll mark all these things at some point so that I actually remember. And we're going to describe what all this crap looks like. And then he has to go downstairs to his inside cabin. He doesn't have a window seat or anything because he's not on a cruise. Miles is simply being transported from Galileo to Paradise, last minute, cheapest ticket, because, he works for the government. We don't get great things here. So he's in one of these rooms. Now, the reason that I got all of this is because I really wanted this to be based off of a real ship. So this is the Disney Wish or Treasure ship. And I got a bunch of pictures from Jess Writes a Book, a friend on YouTube in AuthorTube. She's been on a bunch of Disney cruises, at least one anyway. She hasn't been on this particular ship as far as I know, but she was on another one, and it's very similar. Like, I'm not trying to say that the story takes place on a Disney Wish ship. I just want to know what things look like. And the non-marketing stuff, I don't need to see the pretty stuff. I need to know how narrow the corridors are. I need to know what the carpet looks like heading up to the cabins. I need to know, the grubbier places that aren't in their brochures. And Jess was able to provide me with a few pictures. I mean, honestly, nothing looks grubby. These ships are gorgeous. That's nice. I also found some videos on YouTube that give tours of the ship, and that's filled in a few areas that she didn't have pictures of, so that's cool. I also have some menus from all the different restaurants. There's actually going to only be one restaurant open because these 5 decks, well, plus that one, that's 6, 7, 8, whatever. All these other ones, all those people are going to be in cryostasis because it takes a month to get to paradise, and there's nothing to see in space. It's black. So our murder is going to take place most likely down here on deck 2, one of these things. Or maybe, it could be deck, whatever this is, 5. I can't even see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It might be on deck 6. I don't know. But the murder is going to take place, and there's only going to be, let's say, 13 people. There's going to be cameras everywhere. There's going to be door open close logs. And we're going to narrow it down to about 13 people that it could possibly be between staff and passengers. And these are the people who've decided or couldn't afford to go into stasis. So it's, mostly crew and a few passengers. And there'll be about 13 of them. Why? Because that's how many people were on the Murder of the Orient Express. And I just decided to do that. But not all of them will be guilty. We're not going to be that obvious. Whatever. Anyway, so I've got this picture here. I've got my layout in Scrivener with all these things, saying all the jazz. That's great. Right, so there was the setup of Scrivener and some of the assets that I found, like the Disney Cruise general arrangement diagrams. It's not a true general arrangement. I would like to know exactly where the engine room is, where the bridge is, but that was the passenger deck layout thing, which shows them where, Fun Time Mickey's Playland is. Good enough. Who cares? The engine room's down, I suppose. If I really wanted to find it, I could find it. So I have absolutely everything I need to start this book. Now, normally, when I start a book, and I'll just tell you this as I just hit that, sorry, as a general thing. And I've said it before. I have to get my hand. I hate this thing here. I need it hovering. I need a drone microphone that just hovers. I have to use my left hand. all I do, I have incredibly competent investigators. So I provide them with a body in an environment killed in a certain way, and they investigate. And it all happens organically. So, okay, this person was killed in this way. How could that possibly have happened? With a weapon, with the environment, whatever. Where did this weapon come from? Explore that. Explore and interview all of the people who were around at the time. And it has to be a small group, right? You could argue that my books aren't cozy mysteries, but you could argue that they are, because it has to be a small group. And that's what makes it cozy. It's the coziness of the environment in which the murder and investigation takes place. So they are, in that way, cozy. I did a whole thing on whether my books are cozy mysteries or not. Anyway, but all I do, that's all I do. I don't even know the story. I have my structure. I might know the environment because I always start visually. I really need to know visually what happened or where they are. I always have the environment, and I just give them a body. I don't care who it is. I don't even care if there's more later. That comes organically. I give them a body. I figure out the wound. Now, in the first 6 books, the wounds were all similar for a reason. In this one, I don't think it will be, because I don't think this will be the same person. Well, I can't tell you that. Whoops. Anyway, I don't know that the wound will be the same in this book. We'll figure it out. It won't be, because the wound before wasn't. That's fine. We'll make up a wound, whatever it is, and they'll have to figure out. I say they. It's just Miles in this book. It's Miles on his own, and he's actually miserable, and he doesn't want to do any of this, and he's being dragged back into it. This is not a happy time for Miles. Miles just went through 2 different devastating things before this point. And he just wanted a rest, and he was due a rest. But because he's the only USG investigator on the ship, which is my equivalent of, let's say, the FBI, he has to do it. So they reinstated him. I mean, he was on leave, so they didn't really have to reinstate him, but they reactivated him. You have to do this. And he's not happy about that. He needed a break. So, anyway, he figures out the weapon and then the means by which this occurred. And then he has to go into motives, opportunity, all that crap, right? And it all comes one after another. The most obvious things: yes, we have a dead body. How did the wound happen? What weapon could possibly cause that? Where would somebody get that weapon? How could you possibly enter this room? That's all the easy crap, right? Then you got to figure out the people. So I can write probably 2/3 or maybe even half of this book without answering any of the other things. Just getting through that, I can write. This book's probably only going to be about 40K. It might be 50. I actually looked it up the other day. The Agatha Christie books, Hercule Poirot, and what she had to say about it. She thinks the ultimate detective novel length is 50K. So I'm like, oh my God, I love you. Thank you very much. Because I'm about there, a little bit above, sometimes a little bit below, but they have to be beefed up. But we're about there, so it's vindicating. It's nice. I appreciate that. Okay, the end. So this is what I'm doing. I've got another, I don't know, I've got another week or so where I could just start writing the book before Evelyn's The Writer Games thing starts. I did have that beta read. I read the first chapter. I made all my notes for the first chapter. And then I sent that off to the author and I said, do you want me to continue? There were a lot of notes. Not that there was a lot of things wrong, but there were a lot of things that I noted. And I said, do you want me to continue? Is this the type of feedback you're interested in? And she has yet to respond, so we'll see. It's been a couple days. We'll see what she has to say. If she says, yes, continue, well, then that'll take me till the end of February, because it's quite lengthy doing beta reads. Not hers, but all beta reads. It's very lengthy, time-consuming, a lot of thought involved in going back and forth and stuff that I've said before. If she says, nah, I'm not really interested in the kind of feedback you were giving, then fine, no hard feelings, and I said that to her in the message. Then I'll move on with book 0, and we'll just see where we can get. And hopefully I don't finish it before the end of Evelyn's thing, because we all get points and stuff, but I doubt my district's going to win anyway. There's no one else in crime. It's just me. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Something. I don't know what it could possibly be, but I hope you got something out of this. I mean, maybe you want to buy Scrivener now. Scrivener's actually awesome. I love the program. I do like some affiliate thing, but they're not going to pay me for it because I don't, frankly, have enough subscribers or engagement. So they're not going to pay me for it. But I will continue to say that I think that Scrivener is great for the type of book that I am writing. Murder mystery, just awesome. I think it would work for anyone. But again, I'm not being paid to say anything. And until I am, I'm not putting my stamp of approval on it. Give me money. Okay. Love you all. See you next time. Bye.